Hello and welcome to the Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 2019 Leagues. This is Formula 2 on the PlayStation 4 and we are here now for round 14 of the championship from the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. It is the Italian Grand Prix, one of the most historic races in Formula 1, one of only two races alongside the British Grand Prix that has been on the calendar every single season, and the only year it wasn't at Monza was in 1980 when it was at Imola. For those of you who weren't here last week, and that includes myself as well, Luke Etheridge, commentating tonight. Ollie will not be joining me tonight, but he should be back next time around. If you weren't here last time out, it was another wet-dry race, and another slightly surprising result in the end. We had three people getting their first podiums of the season. Pablo Joglar taking the victory in the Renault, and it was a double podium for the Red Bull team with Clarkey and Jompalainen. But the championship contenders struggled really once again. Jokelat did not finish, so that's 3 non-scores in a row for him, and Ruben could only finish in 5th place. And that means that Nolan, who has been absent for the last few weeks, still has a 25-point lead at the top of the championship. And with his two main rivals, his teammate and Jokelat, not being here tonight, you could only expect him to extend that lead. And hopefully, I'm sure all the drivers will be thinking, it'll be a dry race, because 4 races in a row now have been affected by weather. The wet British Grand Prix before they had the break for the real life F1, and then many more weather affected races since then. Usually seems to come towards the end of the race, but we'll see if it stays dry this time around. Everyone going out on the soft tyres, not too surprising. Despite the high speeds that are reached around this circuit, it's not really known for tyre wear. Fairly standard on the tyres. Not too many high speed corners, but a lot of heavy braking zones. So fuel usage may be a bit more important here than it is at some of the other circuits. As always, your comments are welcome. Feel free to use for chat or the hashtag AOR Hype on Twitter, and it's beginning to look a bit like it did this season there. You see all the cars weaving, trying to get the slipstream, and let's see what last week's winner, Pablo Joglar, can do this time around. Heading down straight, he's going to heading now towards the first chicane, the Rettifilio. Much changed because of safety reasons since 2000. Down to second gear, down to first there, but you can see him just short shifting to try and get that bit of extra traction as you pull away from the corner through the Curvy Grande, and then it's for the next chicane. Variante Bassi coming. Brake when you get to the bridge. See him braking hard there. They're on about scrapping this in future years, which means it'll be even faster as you head towards the 2 Lesmo corners. Cambers into the corner here, so you can take a lot of curb. Don't want to run too wide there. The AstroTurf will easily kick you towards the wall. And speeding up now down towards the second DRS zone. Heading under the dip as we go over the underneath the old banking, not used since 1961. Into the final sector now, starting with Variante Ascari, where we saw Vettel spin this year, although I'm sure I can say that about many tracks. And we see Pablo Joglar there getting himself a bit sideways, so that's not ideal for the Renault driver. So let's see what this first lap time is going to be. He's coming around the final corner now. The Parabolica, pink helmet standing out. What can last week's race winner do? We've seen Vasta races at a 118.7 and it's a 119.0 for Pablo Joglar so far. Ash Best, his teammate, immediately follows in with what is now 4th even, a 119.5. Let's see what Louis can do. 5 points finishes in a row, and he's had a win and a podium in that, so he's definitely one of the form drivers so far. He goes up into 3rd position with a 118.9. You've got Nolan, championship leader, as I mentioned, 3 wins in the early part of this season, his last one being at that British Grand Prix, but that was round 10, and that was the last time we saw him racing this season. Has been an absentee for the last few races, and probably would have expected his title lead to have been bitten into a bit more, but I suppose it's been a bit like the 2009 season with Braun, where the other team drivers and teams have not been able to take advantage. I mean, Toro Rosso still have a huge lead, over 100 points at the top of the championship, with Williams being their closest rivals, partly in fact to Lewis. Fantastic results over the last few weeks. So let's see how this lap goes for Nolan. Not pushing hard at all, I must say. So Perhaps just building up to another lap, burning off the fuel, feeling that the tyres can do that. His first sector 25.5, way off what we would be expecting. So it's Vasta Racer on provisional pole so far. This man, Onyx Mer, one of the reserve drivers tonight in second. The other reserves are F1 Gamer in the McLaren and Petrux in that Alfa Romeo. Onyx is second, and it's Louis, Sparks, Pablo Joglar, Chris, Surface, Clarkey, Ashbest, F1 Gamer and Jompalainen. We are seeing a few yellow flags. The drivers pushing as hard as possible. FTR Dres home race, of course, for the Ferrari car, the sole Ferrari in this race. And we always say that they get a bit of assistance in Italy. I'm not sure they'll be able to get away with that huge running wide we saw at the exit of Ascari, and unsurprisingly he is abandoning his lap. So it's a fairly close field so far. If you're an F1 gamer, I imagine must have made a mistake somewhere on his lap, probably the cause of one of them yellow flags, because after a third of the session, top 9 drivers so far covered by just 0.8 of a second, with everyone going on the same strategies. Could make it difficult in qualifying. Most of the cars now are just heading back towards the pits. Here's one man who won't be there, I believe. Nolan still doesn't look as though he's really going for it at the moment, I must say, in this solo also. So, not sure what strategy he is going for. Seems to be taking it very steady. Once again, just following round to see if he picks up the pace at all, but looking laboured and on low fuel, so he won't be getting another lap time done. As we're seeing a few cars now head back out towards circuit. Jompalainen there, and we just saw his teammate ahead as they sandwich in the current provisional pole sitter. Jompalainen will be delighted. How he did last time out, was F4 champion in season 16, so the last long season for all these drivers back on F1 2018. Moving up to F2, things haven't really gone to plan for him so far, but got a first podium last time out, and it was a great drive as well by his teammate, just half a second off what had been an amazing win, and all those drivers qualified quite low down in the field and made their way up through Spa. Plenty of overtaking opportunities, as again here at Italy, the first and second chicane being the primary ones, and Nolan definitely pushing a bit harder on that lap. 118.5, and he just looked so in control to everyone else. I'm a bit surprised that he's managed to go that fast actually, but never mind. He's on provisional pole so far, the Toro Rosso driver. He will be in the lead of the championship no matter what. Even if Ruben had been here, countback would have meant Nolan would be in the lead, but pole position would give him a fantastic chance to extend that lead, especially as he's missed a few races. There'll be a few others lower down. Vasta Racer and Louis, to name a few, have had good results in his absence, and perhaps will have been building a bit of momentum towards a very late title charge. But only 7 races left after tonight. Next week it will be Singapore, as we're heading out of Europe for the end of the season. So Nolan now provisional pole position. Clark here, what can he do in the Red Bull? Slight improvement in the first sector, 9th at the moment. He's got to find 1.5 tenths to try and move up the order. His teammate Jompalainen 26.2 in that first sector, I should say. Clarkey has got a very slight slipstream here, so that could help him. DRS wide open, not using full ERS, I should say. It's very easy around this circuit to eat up all of your ERS. He's 10th up so far, so if he keeps his slight improvement, he's going to be extremely close to getting past surface and might just even sneak ahead of that Alfa Romeo. So let's see what he can do. See there, is that, I think that was Nolan pulling over to the side of the track. Don't want to get in the way and get yourself a qualifying ban for obstructing another driver. Taking the quickest line towards the finish. Clarkey does move up, 119.1, so a great improvement in the final sector, and a great improvement as well by Vasta Racer, who takes provisional pole position with a 118.3. Good evening to McFriedlake. I'm sorry for butchering your name, but if you've heard my accent, I butcher most English names, never mind anything else. So at the moment, FT Dres, he's heading towards his what will be a first flying lap, penalised on his last one. Still a few not to have set times. Ka, Petrux and Nick in the Mercedes yet to set a time so far, but it's still Vasta Racer on provisional pole. Chris in the McLaren, he's just gone up into third place with a 118.755, last place in the championship at the moment, but he has shown some glimpses brilliant. So maybe this could be another one. Maybe he's got a great chance of improving this time around. Louis, is he 118.9 still in 6th position? We've seen a few more drivers come out and set times now. Drez, he did a 119.0. Pablo Joglar not improving, and he'll be diving towards the pits, I imagine. They've all pretty much had their second runs now. One of the drivers that is out of sync is F1 Gamer. 3 seconds up, I should say, in that first sector. Not surprising, as he made a mistake last time around. So what can he do? 215 mile an hour into the braking zone of Ascari. So that is around approximately 345 kilometers per hour. Ridiculous speeds reached around Monza. Not the fastest, I don't believe, anymore. I think Mexico, they do reach higher speeds, partly, well, mostly due to the altitude, even though they do have to stick tremendous amounts of rear wing on the car to get any downforce. So he's seen his teammate go up into 4th. F1 Gamer 6th place. So looking good for the McLaren so far. 4th and 6th for them. Vasta Racer still on top. CA did a good lap time in the Haas as well. 3rd position for him. The surface not doing so well, a 119.3. But apart from Jon Palainen, they're all extremely close together. You've got that top 15 within a second. That would lead us to a very fascinating race. All will be probably going for similar one-stop strategies. I imagine soft to medium, possibly soft to hard if they want to pit extremely early on and try and get that undercut, but that could leave them vulnerable towards the end of the race. So we'll stay on board this time with Nolan. Heading now, he's got 2 and a bit tenths to find if he wants to try and take a pole position on his return to AOR this season. What can the Toro Rosso driver do? Just over a third of the session remaining, and it's Vasta Racer on provisional pole. This man on screen at the moment, Nolan, is second, and CA, Chris, Onyx Mer, F1 Gamer, Petrux, you got 3 reserves in a row there. Louis, Sparks and Ashbest, your top 10. Nolan, it is a slight improvement, only half a tenth of a second though. When we saw that earlier on, I believe it was for Chris, he was just making those ever so slight improvements and found a hell of a lot more time in that final sector. So if Nolan can keep on with that, just a bit of correction, and that will cost her all the momentum down this straight. Let's see what kind of setup he's running. He gets to 215 as well, so identical top speed on that straight to F1 Gamer. Keeping it clean through there. Bit of traffic up ahead. They won't affect him whatsoever. Unfortunately for him, not even with a slipstream. Down towards Parabolica now. Changing the ARS down. You don't want to run out. So smooth through there. Hardly scrubbed any speed off. And heads into the pit. So not happy with that lap. So he is still in 2nd place. He'll be happy with that qualifying position so far. Sparks coming around the final corner. He also looks as though he's, well, I thought he was diving into a pit lane there, taking a very tight line. That's a good improvement from Sparks. Still getting used to racing without a line, but he's doing fantastically, I must say, since joining AOR, and that is 6th place for him so far. Only joined the championship going into the German Grand Prix. Has scored points in every race so far and got a podium in Hungary. Doing very well so far in this qualifying session as well. We've got yellow flags in sector 2 and 3. I'm not sure who that is for. So Pablo Joglar just coming towards like the end point of that. So maybe just a car travelling slowly. Wouldn't have been him because it says he's 3 tenths up, but he dives towards the pit. So perhaps invalidating his lap. If he found 3 tenths though. 4th position up for grabs. So it looks like an extremely close qualifier session once again, but starting in 11th does give you the fresh tyre, so it's not always a disaster. Clarkey, he's just over a tenth off his personal best, finding himself in 13th at the moment. The highs of the race last time out were 2-3 for the Red Bull team. Not looking as though they'll be replicated this time out. They're 13th and 16th at the moment. He heads towards the pits. Jon Palainen just starting a flying lap. Could very well be his last one with only 4 minutes remaining in this session. The order pretty much unchanged over the last few minutes. We're seeing Nolan going out on his outlap, and that's a big improvement in the first sector. Slight correction from Jon Palainen. Let's follow the Finn round. This time 6 tenths off his nearest rival, so you imagine he wasn't going flat out last time out, because he is a much faster driver than that. DRS wide open now, heading underneath that banking. The combined circuit was 10 kilometres long last time they used it, and it's an incredibly steep banking. Still only 4 tenths up, so although this will be an improvement, and a sizable improvement for him, will still leave a fairly big gap, especially when you consider how tight the field is to surface up ahead of him. So let's see if we can find a bit more in that final corner. The parabolic, you can see there completely running, no ERS, and I think he's bailed out on this lap time, so he'll be giving it one more go. One more go is what Nolan is doing right now. 2.5 minutes remaining. I think he's just on one of his warm-up laps again, because no ERS being used, so be careful he doesn't get in the way of everyone else. He will be one of the first men across the line. All the others seem to be on outlaps at the moment. You can just see some tyre warming going off in the background. Reminder that the top 10 have to start on the tyres that they have qualified on. So putting too much wear on these tyres early on could cause severe issues for them in the race. Do see them wear quite severely. Seeing a few others now coming out on their outlap. It's Vastareza there heading through Ascari. Nolan there on its Mer trying to get ahead of him. A lot of yellow flags, which I imagine are just for cars going slowly. Jon Polina has actually retired from the session. I believe he was in the pits. So he will definitely be starting in last place, qualifying not gone to plan for the Red Bull driver. Vastareza now coming across the line, starting what very well could be his final flying lap. He will have time to get one more lap in after this. Will he have the tyres? Will he have the fuel? Will he have the ARS? Hasn't had the luck there. I think distracted by Ashbest coming out the pit lane. The Lithuanian getting one out of the way at the exit of the Rettifilio. You can see already he's knocked all the ERS off, but he's going to have to get a shift in to try and get round in time. Just 1 minute remaining. He should do so, but might have to go skipping across a few corners in order to try and make it. Nolan, though, he is gunning for it. This is a proper quick lap for him. 600ths down, though, in the first sector. Brake discs glowing red, and he's ran very wide through there, so that is the end of that. And man, we haven't really mentioned much. CA in the Haas, he's third at the moment, and he is improving through that middle sector. Yellow flags in sector 2. Most of the drivers now on what will be their final qualifying laps as the Haas heads towards the line. Sparks retired from the session, and it's provisional pole position from the Turk. Great improvement in that final sector from CA. 118.258 puts him on provisional pole position. Vastareza is going to get round in time to start another lap. Nolan, he's had enough. Pablo Joglar goes up to third place as well. Chris running very wild through that chicane. Onyx, he's just going to be one of the final guys to start his lap. I believe Ashbest got across the line as well, and the Haas behind him. Nick did not, so he is in 13th. A lot of traffic though. Surface, he's not going for it. He'll be starting in 15th. Is Ash pushing as hard as possible. You can just see there's traffic everywhere. Pablo Joglar there getting out of the way of his teammates. So a lot of drivers in this final group. Oh, and Louis lost it! Almost identical to what Hamilton did 10 years ago. Louis loses it through the Lesbos. But got in the way of one of the cars there. Completely unintentional, of course. And it spins again on the exit. That's just going to distract some of the other drivers, perhaps. F1 Gamer, he's heading now towards the finish line. Doesn't look like he's going to make any improvement in that McLaren. Who big final sector from him, as I was saying that. He's got up to 5th place. So an all McLaren third row looks on at the moment. Vastareza pushing as hard as possible, but he's slightly down on his personal best. CA in the background just cruising behind. Imagine he was ahead. Vastareza taking his own line through that corner. Did the lap, getting validated. Is it going to give him an improvement? It would have been good enough for pole position, but unsurprisingly, that lap will not count. Onyx, he's just cruising down towards the end, as is Louis. So that is the end of your qualifying session here in Italy. And it is CA who takes pole position in the Haas. Great job from him. A man only 12th in the championship at the moment. He's had a third and a second so far this season. Starting from pole is going to give him a great chance of victory. Vastracer in second, who needs to keep his title hopes alive. He needs a good race and he's in a good position to do that. Last week's race winner Pablo Juglar is in third, and then Nolan in fourth position. We'll run through the rest of the order soon. What was a very tight qualifying session, a lot of yellow flags towards the end, one of those being caused, as we saw, by Louis getting wild through the Lesmos. So it's CA, Vastracer, Pablo Juglar, Nolan, your top four, and all McLaren third row, with F1 Gamer, the reserve, in fifth, and Chris in sixth. Another reserve driver, Onyx Mer, in seventh, ahead of the two Alfa Romeos of Sparks and Pet Trucks. Ash Best starts 10th. Louis will have the free tyre choice in 11th place. He's 1.5 tenths ahead of FTR Dres in the Ferrari. And then it is Nick, Clarkey, Surface, and Jompalainen, your final of the 16 cars. The top 14 separated by less than a second. It should be a fascinating Italian Grand Prix. Just a reminder of some of the other tiers we have going on right now. There is the PC Tier 1 action being broadcast at the moment if you want to catch that. Additionally, there is all the extra tiers from F2 and below from across all three platforms. There is also the Xbox One F1 tier being streamed live at 9 o'clock. And as with all the streams, if you miss any of them, you can catch up on the channel afterwards. And it looks beautiful conditions at the moment in Italy. Sure, a big relief for all the drivers after 4 consecutive races of rain. I think the last thing they wanted was another wet race, so just a standard dry race for these guys. That could help those towards the front, but expect to see a lot of slipstreaming and overtaking over the next 27 laps, as all the drivers now just selecting their strategies, not allowed to make any severe setup changes at the moment, can only really tweak the front wing if they weren't happy with the balance that they had in the car in qualifying. See, starting the formation lap now. We'll just have a look at all the tyres that are being run by the various cars. We knew the top 10 would all start on the softs. Unsurprisingly, no one picking the hard tyres. Outside the top 10, it's only Louis and Nick that are on them soft tyres. So expect Nick to probably get past Rez pretty early on, but the race will come to those starting further back, of course. They will probably go on some soft tyres round about lap 18 to 19, I'd expect. And those that are starting on the softs, somewhere around lap 9 and 10 will be where we will see them change onto the medium tyres. Anyone who gets damaged in the early stages or just fancies going for an alternative strategy will be able to go for the undercut, but not massive tyre wear here, so I'll be very surprised if we do see anyone on those hard tyres. The main rival of Nolan in this race, for a championship perspective, will be Vastracer. He's 4th at the moment, tied with Surface, but 13 points ahead of the Haas. He's ahead in the championship, courtesy of that one win that he got in Germany 3 weeks ago. Now we'll be hoping to get past Jocola at least in the championship and try and close in on Nolan. 71 point gap, 26 points the most available in one weekend. We have only got 8 races remaining, so it's definitely difficult, but still possible, especially when you consider how Ruben and Jocola have been struggling at the moment in the last few races. Not took advantage of Nolan's absence at all. Will he be able to take advantage of their absence this time around? Who do you guys think are going to win? We've got the championship leader getting extremely close there to the winner last time around. Will Pablo Juglar be able to make it 2 out of 2 perhaps from that second row of the grid? You've got the 2 McLarens. Could he get a victory? Could Haas see their first win of the season? Not from the guy they would have expected. So all the cars lined up and the lights are coming on shortly. The lights are on now. 3, 4, 5. And once they go out, we will be racing here in Italy. It's a great start from the Toro Rosso on the second row of Nolan. He's got away, he's challenging for Pablo Joglar into the first corner. It's a bit chopped off there by the Racing Point. He hits free abreast into the first corner. Nolan somehow got the lead. Fantastic move by him. Sort of dive bombed a bit there, and that caught CA by surprise. He's dropped all the way down. He's in the wall. The pole sitter is off and in the wall. I don't know if he got himself mixed up there with Onyx or what happened, but it's been a nightmare for him. I think he's fairly undamaged though, but it's Nolan and Vasta Racer. There's already a bit of a gap appearing to Pablo Joglar. Does he have front wing damage? Because he's going very slowly. I can't see any at the moment. There's another car off in the background. That is Petrux in the other Alfa Romeo, so he has gone off circuit. Wild start to this race, and that has allowed the front two to escape. It's Nolan in the lead, then Vasta Racer. Said he needed to take advantage of his rival's absence. He seems to be doing just that so far. You can see the places gained by many cars. Ash Best going up 5 places as well. Nick gaining 4, Louis gaining 3. The man that we are seeing at the moment also gaining 3 places. He is in the lead, but he's got Vasta Racer all over the back of him at the moment. An absolutely crazy start to this race. Not quite sure exactly what happened there, but the end of the veil is it's Nolan taking the lead. Then it is Vasta Racer right in the slipstream of that Toro Rosso. The Racing Point defending slightly. Is he going to go for a move? No DRS this time around. He decides to think better of it. F1 Gamer battling with Ash Best. Down the inside the McLaren goes, retaking that 5th position that he started in. Must have been a lightning start from Ash. Didn't quite see what happened with all the carnage behind. Whatever affected CA, who's managed to get away unscathed. He's up to 14th at the moment, just trying to find his way through the field. He's got Jon Palainen all over the back of him. Chris now getting past Ash Best. There, oh, there's contact. There's contact. Chris has gone off, as has Ash Best. McLaren and Renault getting together there. So another few cars struggling in these early stages. There's been a lot of contact early on. These guys do know that this race is 27 laps long and they don't have to get everything done at the start, right? Anyway, moving on. Nolan leading, Vasta Racer in second. Pablo Joglar seems to be pulling a bit away from Sparks and dragging maybe a few others with him. Then there's a bit of a gap when you get behind F1 Gamer to Nick, no doubt caused by that spin involving Ash Best and Chris. We'll see if there was anything untowards with that, if there were any stewards reports. Still no DRS this time around. Nolan, fastest lap again, immediately beaten by Pablo Joglar, and he's just not gaining enough without DRS. And because he runs such skinny wings here, even once they do have DRS, it isn't as effective as it would be at some other circuits. Not like Mexico, for example, because you don't lose as much drag as you would here. So Nolan still has the lead, but he will be under more pressure. It might not be as effective, but it still could just give the Racing Point that extra boost he needs. And this has gone perfectly for Nolan. If it stays as it is, it'll be 50 points ahead going into the final 7 races. Seeing a move in the background. Sparks getting past Pablo Joglar. Saw a bit of dust being kicked up. That must have been by the Renault. The Alfa back into a podium position. 1 already this season. Can he make it 2? Can he get after the leaders? DRS open on the Racing Point this time around. Is he going to have a go into the Ascari chicane? He's just too far back to do anything. Joglar managing to use DRS though to try and take that place back. He has done so. The Renault back up into 3rd place. Expect to see a lot of slipstreaming, but all them overtakes mean they've lost a lot of places. Joglar seemed very slow through Ascari. He doesn't seem to have it hooked together through the corner so far. Chris getting a penalty early on for using too much of the track at too many points. Now we'll see if this Racing Point can do anything. DRS wide open now on that Racing Point. He's closing, he's closing. Surely he's going to be close enough to go for a move, and he's deciding just to stick back at this moment. Sparks and F1 Gamer getting past Pablo Joglar. Said DRS could be useful, and there we go. So the Alfa takes 3rd, the McLaren takes 4th, and the Renault drops down into 5th. We are seeing some support here for Vasta Racer. He's in a pretty good place at the moment, perhaps knowing he can just save a bit of fuel being behind that Toro Rosso, especially if that Toro Rosso keeps getting time penalties. First 3-second penalty of the race for Nolan. It's very easy to run wide at various points of this track. Said we had a lot of carnage in the opening laps. We still have 16 runners, thankfully. DRS open this time on the McLaren. You just see him pressing that button. Pablo Joglar is behind the McLaren, going side by side then down towards Ascari. He gets ahead. The Renault too far back to do anything this time, so he's up to third place, but that not might be the greatest position to be in as it comes to the main straight. And Vasta Racer looks as though very close. All these straights looks as though he's all over the back, and you can see him saving a lot of ERS there, so just using Nolan, I think, at the moment to save a bit of fuel and a bit of electrical energy, but there's no saving being done this time around. This is going to be the move for the lead of the race. He's got the DRS done, he's got it done. Nolan tries to chop back in the slipstream, but Toro Rosso unable to fight back. Vasta Racer takes the lead of the race. A few moves further back, Onyx getting past Rez. Chris setting another fastest lap. That McLaren flying at the moment. It's just a shame for him. It's in 15th. For two Haas cars swap positions. CA and the Surface. Two podiums early on this season for CA. Qualified on pole position, but just not to be. Nolan did go for an optimistic move, but he looked to have got it done cleanly to me, but didn't see what happened afterwards, so can't comment too much on it. So it's Vasta Racer in the lead of this race now. Nolan behind. He will have DRS, and all this DRS will just allow them to try and extend the gap to those behind. They'll be in a bit of a DRS train as well. 3 seconds behind as we go on to lap 5. This could easily be the pattern of this race. See CA moving up again now. He's gone up into 9th position. So will Nolan try and get the lead back off Vasta Racer? Knows his two main rivals on here. Vasta Racer would, if it stays as it is, take third in the championship though. So if he really wants to have a chance of doing anything, the Racing Point needs to win this race. Toro Rosso using DRS. He's going to be down the inside for a straightforward pass, you feel. Gets it done. Sparks, ditto on F1 Gamer. The Alpha into third, and the Toro Rosso of Nolan back into the lead of this race. Drez in 10th now in the sole Ferrari. We've seen Chris getting past Jon Palainen on the soft tyres. Soft tyres should be good for easily a couple more laps, but expect the mediums to start coming into their own. First time for a while we didn't see this McLaren man set a fastest lap. Such a shame. But that, he was involved in an incident for Aspesh and Ash as well, of course, getting involved in that. Dropped them out of what was looking like part of the battle for third place, and now fighting with the Red Bulls. Down 12th, 13th, 14th and 15th. Ash just keeping his tyre on the inside of Jon Palainen. Not a conventional passing place, but he's in 14th place now. We'll just have a check how the reserves are doing. Petrux is last at the moment, but F1 Gamer in 4th position and Onyx in 8th, so it's going well for those guys at the moment. F1 Gamer will be aiming to be in 3rd very shortly as we see a yellow flag and a virtual safety car. Virtual safety car. Drez has gone off, and oh, Nolan, very late decision not to get into the pit lane there, so FTR Drez is out of the race. Nightmare for the Ferrari driver, the sole Ferrari. We are seeing a few guys pit. Pablo Joglar and Louis coming into the pits, as is Onyx Mer and CA. So Chris getting himself a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. These guys, few going onto the hard tyres. Unsurprising, really, if they want to get to the end. But how long will this virtual safety car go on for? Bit too early probably to pit onto those medium tyres. Though these front two do seem to have pulled away a huge gap on Sparks and F1 Gamer. So there we go, DRS enabled. We're off again, and Nolan there getting a long way ahead of Vasta Racer. Getting a bit too excited about himself, so he reacted a lot quicker to that virtual safety car ending there. Vasta Racer's dropped back slightly. He's still in DRS range. He feels like he would have had a chance, and I'm sure he won't be too happy with the very late decision by Nolan not to pit. Those that did pit, Pablo Joglar, Louis and Onyx took the hard tyres. CA, Chris and Petrux took the medium, so they might be looking pretty good. Of course, they won't have lost anywhere near as much time. In fact, if we look at the gap towards the leader, yeah, they could be looking pretty handy. Expect Pablo Joglar to, well, they've only really, I'd say, a second or two gained over a normal pit stop looking at that, so not exactly that beneficial Is DRS going to be beneficial here? 20 laps remaining. Is Faster Racer going to go for a lunge down the inside? Thinks better of it this time around. F1 Gamer is going for a move though on Sparks, and Nick has got involved in this battle as well. It was a three-way battle early on, but that time it had Pablo Juglar in. This time it's got the Mercedes of Nick, currently in 5th position after his teammate has pitted. So we'll see how those on the hard tyres do, and those on the mediums. I'd expect CA to make his way back through the order, as will Chris and Petrux. It's just, can they make those medium tyres last long enough towards the end of the race, or will they have to pit again for a final few laps run on the soft? They won't want to. It definitely will not be the quickest strategy though, as the front two pulling away 4.5 seconds from Faster Racer to F1 Gamer now. This could easily be a race-long battle to the finish. Wouldn't surprise me if for next lap or two we see that Racing Point come into the pits for the undercut. He would come out in clear air, I believe, ahead of Pablo Juglar. Especially because those hard tyres will be in much better shape than the softs at the moment. So neither of them pitting this time around. Faster Racer with a much better exit than he got on the previous lap. Go on to lap 9. And it happens once again. Faster Racer takes the lead of the race, gets back on the racing line. Further back, Sparks takes the lead, takes the third spot off of Chris. Nick just staying a bit further back. CA got past Onyx Moore as well, so he's already moving his way up on those medium tyres. Seems like the softs are sticking relatively well compared to the hards. And even to the mediums, here's Ash Best, he'll be dropping back. Unsurprisingly there, CA with the fastest lap, 122.1, as that fuel burns off. Reminder that we do follow the F1 2019 rules. You do get a point for the fastest lap, but only if you are in the top 10 at the end of the race. The F1 2019 season closing, of course, today with the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. It's always sad to see the F1 season ending. It's never that sad when you remember that we are now as far away as possible from another Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. So Nolan has dropped back quite a bit on this lap, so I wonder if he's going for the pit stop this time around. Will we see Toro Rosso try and get the undercut? See a 3-second time penalty there for Ash Best. Expect a few more of them as the tyres get more worn. So will Nolan dive towards the pits? He does, following Faster Racer in. And a lot more aggressive on that pit entry. Sparks coming in as well, as does F1 Gamer. So all of a sudden, it's Nick in that Mercedes with the lead of this race. I'll be interested to see where these guys come out relative to Pablo Juglar, who is coming around the Parabolica now. These hards just don't have much pace. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 1. Who is that for? I think Nick's got it badly wrong through the chicane. Faster Racer still comes out ahead of Nolan. And Pablo Juglar will be just behind these guys. So it's worked out definitely well for those that stopped earlier. Pablo Juglar completely free of that fight. He is now in net 3rd place. Louis in at 4th. Sparks and F1 Gamer coming out behind them. And CA as well back into 6th. It's just whether he can make those medium tyres last long enough. So the man who's in 6th physically at this moment, as opposed to after all the pit stops, is Faster Racer on those fresh medium tyres. 18 laps he will have to do on them. Now when will Nick pit and Ash Best? You'll expect it to be that this lap, and then it's how long can Surface Clarkia and Jon Palainen stay out, and also how quickly can Faster Racer, Nolan and the others make their way through that traffic once they catch up to it. 13.7 seconds to gap at the moment. Nick coming around the final corner, he does pit, so that's not a surprise. Passing over to his Livid Racing stablemate, it's for Haas of Surface, who now takes the lead of this race, and Ash Best in as well. So all the soft tyre runners have pitted. Red Bulls 2nd and 3rd at the moment, as they were at the checkered flag last time out in Belgium. I think we're going to need a lot more excitement for them to be 2nd and 3rd this time around. Here's some excitement. Nolan diving down the inside of Faster Racer. That is 4th position on track for the Toro Rosso, but the provisional lead of this race, they are gaining so much time compared to those on the mediums. Can Pablo Juglar though stick with them? It's going to be difficult for him to get himself involved in this lead battle. 2 seconds behind it at the moment on a older set of tyres and a less pacey set of tyres, the white-walled hard tyres. I think I have finally got used to these being called the softs, medium and the hards rather than the super softs and the mediums as they were last season around. Faster Racer looks to have dropped back a bit on Nolan this time around, but I'm sure he doesn't want to get past Nolan heading into the Ascari chicane. He wants to do it down the main pit straight. It's Surface in the lead of this race for Haas coming around. Got to go as long as possible on these medium tyres to change onto the softs at the end. Might look good for a few points. We've got a battle here between Petrux and Ash Best for 14th down into Ascari. Are we going to have a battle down into the Rettifilio? Nolan with the fastest lap of the race, 122.0, and Faster Racer just too far back at the moment. F1 Gamer and Sparks continuing the race-long battle. That is the McLaren up into 8th place. CA trying to see if he can get himself involved as well, and just see how much stopping out affected Nick compared to the others. He was on the back of that battle at the moment. There he is, only just going through first chicane. Did make that mistake, of course, but showing the power of the undercut here at Monza. Surface 4 seconds ahead of the two Red Bulls. Nolan now just 10 seconds off the lead. He'll be catching the Red Bulls sooner rather than later, and then it will be the Haas up ahead. I imagine that Haas might just get out of the way before these leaders catch up to them. The medium tyres proving to be the best. They're now 3.4 seconds ahead of Pablo Juglar in 6th, but that is another time penalty for Nolan, and I believe Faster Racer has none at the moment, so he needs to keep it careful, that Toro Rosso driver. Don't want to be earning too many time penalties. Not really under any threat of a disqualification at the moment. But as the tyres wear out, you want to have a bit spare as you're pushing hard towards the end of the race. Faster Racer with a very good exit once again through the Parabolica. He had enough of being on the bump of the Toro Rosso. Just see the racing point go straight by. DRS closing as they get into the braking zone. That's Faster Racer back up into 4th place. F1 Gamer getting past Louis there. So you can see these hard tyre runners struggling now. It's probably looking good for 3rd place at the moment, F1 Gamer. Chris getting a time penalty in the other McLaren. Interested to see how him, CA and Petrux will do on those mediums. They will definitely do the 21 laps without getting a puncture. It's just whether they're actually any good towards the end of the race and how much they're struggling for pace, or will it be better off them trying to get a 2-stop in and just pitting for the softs. I feel like they'll be better served dragging these out on a 1-stop, but we will wait and see. Petrux definitely pushing hard though as he gets himself a time penalty. And Nolan, this now it's his turn, as we're nearly at the halfway point, to have his face full of racing point there, and he nearly had a face full of gravel running wide coming out of that Ascari chicane. Don't want to do that too many times. So easy on these curves. Remember, don't think it's as bad on F1 2019, but I remember on F1 2018 you hit that inside curb too hard at the entrance to Ascari and at the exit as well, and you could so easily find yourself pirouetting into the barrier. Is Nolan closing off this time round for a dive down the inside? He's looked as though we were going for it, didn't pull off the dummy. F1 Gamer round the outside of Pablo Juglar there. He is now up into 6th place. That will be 3rd once the pit stops have sorted themselves out. Could be a long afternoon for those that pitted under the VSC, I feel, to get onto them hard tyres. Perhaps not a surprise that Nolan ditched out of that pit stop very late. Even later than he ditched out of that overtake just then. So we're on lap 14 and it's Surface, Clarkey and Yompline in your front 3, but the real leader of the race, of those that have pitted, is Faster Racer. 8 seconds behind the lead at the moment in 4th. It's got Nolan still all over the back of him. It's now 5 seconds to get back to what is the net 3rd place man of F1 Gamer. He has managed to fight his way through the hard shod runners. We'll see if Sparks and CA can do it as quickly as you'd expect Sparks to do so with only 4 lap old tyres, so he's definitely got the pace on them fresh tyres. I'm sure Faster Racer will be hoping that Yompalainen was just a tiny bit closer so he could get DRS as well, because Nolan could have a bit of a free run here into turn 1 as they enter lap 15. DRS wide open, gets in it done a long way before the corner. Being made to look a bit of a fool here when I said DRS isn't necessarily super effective around this Monza circuit, because it's proving to be so. He's up into 4th, is Nolan, and Sparks getting past Louis for 8th place, I should say. And Ashbest and Petrux right at the back are still having a battle as Petrux going for a move down the inside. He's trying to get back on that Renault, being forced across the curb. A bit of wheel banging between the two of them. No real harm done now. Now we can see does this get a tiny bit easier for Nolan perhaps, because he will get DRS off all these cars in front. But you don't want to catch him up through the chicane, through the parabolica, because you will lose so much time being stuck behind them. And I imagine he will want to get this done going into parabolica, but there's not much of a braking zone. In fact, he's even got it run out of Ascari. Can Vasta Racer follow through round the outside? And Jon Palainen very polite there. No blue flags, of course, because they are fighting for position, but they're all going to have DRS again. Clarkey diving into the pits at the end of lap 15. The surface and Jon Palainen now the only guys not to have pitted. Nolan didn't end up getting DRS off that Red Bull. And Vasta Racer decides not to go for the move this time around. So it's still Nolan and Vasta Racer out in front. Surface 7-second lead at the moment. How long can he keep these medium shod tyres on for us? We have a yellow flag in sector 1. I believe that was Sparks. Oh, he's lost it again. Chris has retired from the session. So Chris, he is out of the session. Where was that? That is coming out of turn 1, I believe. You can just see the McLaren parked to the side of the road. So he is out of the session. Yellow flags through there at the moment. Sparks also involved in something there. He lost a few places in the Alfa Romeo. Will we see another virtual safety car? Clarkey, unsurprisingly, on them soft tyres, so expect to see what kind of pace he can put out at the moment. Vasta Racer very close to the back of Nolan, and we've got a lot of battling going on for the behind Louis at the moment. You can see a long train here. He seems to be struggling a lot more on them hard tyres than the Renault up ahead of him. He's dropping back quite a long way at the moment. Will Surface stay out for another lap? Indeed he does. Will Vasta Racer stay for another lap behind Nolan? 11 laps remaining here in Italy. This time the Racing Point is going to go for it. Nolan defending slightly there, and Vasta Racer thinking, yep, that's fine, you can have it this time around. So staying in what is 3rd place for now. And what seems to be happening here is a lot of attacking and defending as Onyx down the inside of CA. There's a bit of wheel banging. Very easy to lose a front wing in this tight situation, but we've got 5 cars here separated by just over a second. They're all getting DRS off each other, of course. Sparks and Nick maybe just have to be a bit more patient. They've got the best tyres out of all these guys at the moment. CA will struggle inevitably, I feel, towards the end. Petrux and Ashbest battling once again for that 12th and 13th place, and they've got Clarkey just behind them on the soft tyres. Red Bull pitting onto those. Not able to make the mediums last as long as he'd have wanted. I wouldn't be surprised to see Surface and Jon Palainen diving into the pits this time around. Here is your race leader. It was the other Haas that started on pole position but didn't go to plan for him, so he dives into the pits indeed after 17 laps. And will Nolan take the lead of this race? How long will he have it for? Vasta Racer tried the inside last time, it didn't work. The outside, much easier for him this time around. Sweeps around and takes the lead. Jon Palainen into the pits as well, so that promotes F1 Gamer to 3rd, Pablo Joglar to 4th, and Louis having to go very defensive from CA down into that first chicane. A bit of a tap from the back of the house. The longer Louis can hold on for, the more likely you feel like he could somehow manage to stay in 5th place here. It'd be another fantastic result for the Williams driver. It'd be a 6-point scoring finish in a row if he stays there. Out of his last 4 races, he's finished in the top 4 every single time, and he's had a podium and a victory in that as well. He's got his work cut out if he wants to keep this position on at the moment with a lot of cars behind him, especially Surface in 10th place. Has fresh, soft tyres and clean air, so he could very easily find himself on the back of this battle in the next few laps. DRS train effect here just show him it's very hard for anyone behind CA to give it a go, overtake him, but he doesn't want to overcommit himself because he knows A, he's got older tyres, and B, a mistake, he could easily lose a position. Nick got a much better exit that time around than Sparks, but won't give it a go into the Parabolica. Vasta Racer set the fastest lap of the race, only to get quickly overtaken by Nolan. Once again, this is going to be all about who takes the lead onto that final lap, and I think it could very well be Nolan if they do it every lap. CA, he is up into 5th position now. Finally getting past Louis. Onyx Smith, he's another one who's putting on those hard tyres, so he might find it a bit more difficult, but it's Sparks and Nix I want to see. I think though they have the best tyres, but Sparks just struggling a bit more. Has he got any wing damage? I can't see. He does have some big wing damage. There's a lot more battling going on up ahead, so that is why Sparks is struggling, so Nick needs to get ahead of him as soon as possible. CA has got ahead of Louis. His next target will be Pablo Joglar, 5 seconds up the road. 5th would still be a good result for the Haas driver, but I'm sure he was hoping for more after starting from pole position, but being involved in an incident on the first lap. On that first lap, Nolan took the lead and Vasta Racer was his second. We've swapped over a few times, but that's pretty much how it has stayed since then. Nolan leading at the moment, Vasta Racer in second. When they cross the line, there'll be 8 laps remaining. Will the Racing Point give it another go this time around? Closing in all the time, but not doing so. Not doing so. I'm just going to get the telemetry up again to see how they're both doing for ERS and fuel. Very similar on the ERS. Nolan just having a tiny bit more. But he will have to use more on this straight, of course, to try and stay ahead. He got a much better exit actually that time around compared to Vasta Racer. See Sparks and Nick swapping positions, and that is another time penalty for Nolan. That is 9 seconds now, and I haven't seen Vasta Racer's name pop up. We're getting into the territory where, on track, it looks like the win is anyone's guess. In the stewards, it's definitely going to go towards Vasta Racer, and will Nolan even find himself getting a second place, because F1 Gamer is not too far behind. Vasta Racer is getting very close into Ascari. We haven't seen these guys overtake there. We have seen Petrox and Ashbest tyre, and they are still fairly close together then. We've now got the Red Bulls involved in that as well, so that could get spicy for 11th place. Fighting for pride rather than points down in the lower reaches of the order. We're seeing a few more penalties come in now for various drivers as they are pushing in these latter stages of the race. It was an extremely close qualifying, and we expected a multi-car battle for the lead. That hasn't happened, but these two have provided plenty of action. Lap 21, and we see Vasta Racer retaking the lead once more. And because there, Aaron DRS is just pulling away slightly from F1 Gamer. Got a podium in his reserve drive in Germany earlier on. That was in the Alfa, and it looks as though he could very much do the same again in the McLaren in 3rd place at the moment. Pablo Joglar in 4th, and now it's CA leading that train with 14 lap old tyres. Of Louis, Onyx, Sparks, Nick and Surface will be joining them very shortly, you feel, on them soft tyres. So how many cars can the second Haas find his way through? Just 3 seconds off the back of this train at the moment. Then outside of the points it is Clark here, Ashbest, Jompalainen and Petrox. Here we go. Red Bull, Renault, Red Bull, Alpha, Red Bull's on new soft tyres. Renault on fairly used mediums, the Petrox on very used medium tyres. Only 25 seconds off the lead, but I think there's just fighting for pride. I'll be very surprised to see any of them head up towards the points now. Vasta Racer, lap 22, 6 laps remaining. Will Nolan go for it this time around? He looks a bit further out than Vasta Racer was last time, so he'll have to do it under braking. Something that they have seemed reluctant to do, and once again just staying behind. Further back, CA and Lewis seem to have broken a bit of a gap to Onyx. Onyx not even getting DRS. Nick gets past Sparks once again. Sparks doing incredibly well when you consider the damage that he has. Oh, must have been seeing things earlier. He hasn't got any damage on that front wing. My apologies. So, Sparks still doing well, battling with Nick, but not doing it with a wounded car as I thought he was. These have dropped back a long way from Onyx, who has also dropped back from Louis and CA, so things going to get a bit easier for the Haas and the Williams in 5th and 6th place at the moment as Nick picks up a penalty, trying to keep Sparks behind him. And Surface trying to get some more points for that Haas team to help in what is an extremely close battle in the Constructors' Championship at the moment for 2nd place. We'll just keep the leaders battle on screen as I go through what the Constructors is like for 2nd place. Williams on 165, then you've got Renault on 138, Racing Point 135, Haas 133. Mercedes, Red Bull, Alfa Romeo and Ferrari not exactly miles behind them either. Nolan definitely not miles, it is yards behind Vasta Racer. Very soon it will be feet. Will it be inches? Will he inch ahead? No, he will not. So staying behind. With only 5 laps to go, that might be an interesting strategy. Because you want to be going ahead as soon as possible, but you can see how the tyres are wearing. Just saw a bit of wheel spin there from Nolan. Sparks and Nick battling once again. These seem to be providing all of the overtaking action at the moment into that first chicane. Sparks back up into 8th place. And now he's got 2 Living Racing drivers behind him within DRS range, as Surface has finally latched himself onto the back of this battle. Louis hanging on to CA at the moment, and perhaps those mediums wearing out. Perhaps we're at the point now where those who pitted on the hard under that virtual safety car begin to see the benefit of that. Jon Palainen, I believe that's his first penalty of the race, down in 13th at the moment, so won't affect any of the point standings. These on the hards might just find it a bit easier now. That could be why Onyx has begun to pull away from Sparks. I mean, Pablo Joglar still within touching distance of CA, and Pablo another one on the hard tyres. F1 Gamer sort of in his own race at the moment on the mediums. Will Nolan go for it this time around? 4 laps remaining. I'll be surprised if he does. He is going to surprise me, doing it under braking, brakes later than Nolan. Nothing Vasta Racer can really do there. He gets the move done. Louis too far back to have a go on CA, surely. The Haas may have to go a bit defensive though. He's not going to get it done this time around as Nick and Sparks swap over once again. Will the Haas be able to get himself involved in it? No, he won't. He's got to get this done very soon if he wants to make the most of the soft tyres and possibly find his way up towards Onyx with just 4 laps remaining. This is the bottom end of the top 10. We've seen a lot of the top end with Nolan and Vasta Racer. Then it's F1 Gamer, Pablo Joglar, CA, Louis, Onyx, Nick, Sparks and Surface. Ash, Clarkey, Yompline and Petrux outside the points, and Chris and Brez the only non-runners at the moment, as Surface takes a lot more curb than he's allowed there, and I wouldn't be surprised if that earns him a warning. Out in the leading battle is still 3/10 of a second. They have kept each other superbly well at the moment, keeping each other under substantial pressure at all times. Is it going to be enough for Vasta Racer to possibly take the win, or is Nolan going to lay a big marker down in the absence of his 2 main title rivals to get win number 4? Vasta Racer wants his second, not messing about this time around, and they're not able to pass before that checkered flag though, before the finish line. So whoever's leading, you've got to say on to lap 27, that's when it's going to get interesting, and if there's an overtake each lap, that would be Vasta Racer. So I'll be surprised if Nolan goes for it this time around, if I'm being honest. Although he may not have much choice, we'll wait and see. Nick now right on the back of Onyx, so I can only imagine Onyx has made a mistake there. Surface hasn't found his way up as much as he would have liked. Field seems to be a bit stuck behind Sparks. So we've got the 2 Mercedes here battling for 7th and 8th. One of reserve in Onyx, the permanent driver of Nick, stuck behind at the moment in the other Mercedes. I'm thinking normal F1 would be thinking it's absolutely crazy if we're seeing Mercedes in 7th and 8th, but in AOR pretty much anything can happen with the equal car performance. He's got a much better exit that time around as Nick. Superb exit. He's got it done extremely early on. We'll just be able to take the racing line into the braking zone. So that's a swap between the two Mercedes. They are now in 7th and 8th, but it's now Nick leading out of them. And Nolan is a long way back, unsurprisingly. Won't be able to do it this time around. Vaster sets the fastest lap of the race. He's going to have to push as hard as possible. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 3 as Petrux has retired. So those worn mediums probably just catching him out. Our third DNF of the race. The VSC or a safety car now could stir things right up and would give Vaster the win, of course. It's rare to see everything happening as Nolan gets right up the back of Vaster. He's going to have DRS where it matters, going onto the main straight, going onto the final lap. But expect Vaster to defend a lot more vigorously than he has done so far. Further back, CA and Louis still battling hard. I think CA defending for his life now. Those mediums will be well past their best, so can Louis get back into the top 5? Or will CA hold on into that position? Pablo Joglar looking comfortable in 4th now. F1 Gamer, a very lonely second stage to this race. They're battling for the final points positions. It's a 4-way train at the moment. Don't want to miss this as we come around Parabolica. Who has got the better exit off the corner? It's pretty even. Vaster will go defensive. Nolan has the DRS open. We are on to the final lap of the race here at Monza. Nolan's going to go for it down the inside. Vaster is going to try and hold it on. He's just not able to do anything. There's contact between the two of them. Nolan takes the lead of this race and he's got a lot more ERS and more fuel, so that could very well be that. We'll stick with this. Is there going to be another chance? Just not got any electrical energy to close in, and Ascari's his only option now if Aston Racer wants to take another win. Nick has got himself involved, so I don't know if Louis and CA, if they got themselves together, because all of a sudden they've got Nick behind them as well, so he's gotten involved. So CA has lost 2 places. In fact, so we'll watch that towards the end, but you can't take your eyes off this at the moment. Vaster Racer, is he going to go for anything? It's just too far back. Just too far back to do anything. You can't overtake it to Parabolica unless Nolan gets a terrible exit through here. On track, of course, we're going to see a battle for the win, and I'm not sure if Vaster Racer knows about the penalty situation. He does not need to go for this move. He won't be able to. So Nolan is going to take the victory out on track as he knows he's pulling over, I think, to let Vaster Racer take the win. Nolan knows he has penalties. That's a nice thing to do. Vaster Racer takes the win here in Italy. Nolan second across the line, and I think just holds on to that when penalties will be applied. F1 Gamer in 3rd. Pablo Joglar 4th. And oh, there's been a drop. Nick's lost it through the Parabolica. The Mercedes has gone. Drama here on the final lap. He's not even going to get a point in the end. There's a battle all the way to the line for the final point. Jompalainen is going to claim that in the end. So Pablo Joglar 4th, Surface 5th after penalties. Louis 6th, Onyx 7th, Sparks 8th, CA 9th, and Clarkey took 10th. Jompalainen 11th, Asbest 12th, and Nick 13th and last place. But it was Vaster Racer who takes his 2nd victory of the season. Gabriel will be delighted with that in the chat. So a win for Vaster Racer. He needs that to keep his slim title hopes alive. That will promote him into 3rd in the championship. 64 points. 63 points actually, with the fastest lap, of course, behind the man who beat in 2nd place, Nolan. He won't be too worried though, knowing that the 2 main rivals of his before this race, Ruben and Jocolat, were absent, so it's now a 43-point lead Nolan will have going into the final 7 races of the season. So we'll run through the provisional results. Vaster Racer kept it clean, got the victory from 2nd place. Nolan battled hard, and I think he let Vaster Racer have it across the line. He'll be delighted with 2nd though. F1 Gamer just missing out on another 2nd place reserve driver. He's in 3rd. Pablo Joglar 4th. Surface getting 5th from 15th on the grid. Great performance from him. Louis in 6th, Onyx Mert 7th, Sparks 8th, CA 9th place from pole position. Just fell apart for him at the start and in the final few laps. Clarkey picking up the final point, and then Jompalainen, Ashbest and Nick outside the points. Petrux retired in the final few stages. Chris retiring early on, as did FTR Drez. So there were definitely two men head and shoulders above the field today, Vasta Racer and Nolan. Nolan will be very happy with his return to the series now. If we have a look how many podiums he's actually had this season in all the races that he has taken part in. This is only his 10th race of the season, and it is his 7th podium. 3 of them have been victories, and it could have easily been another victory across the line for him today, but keeping it clean is oh so important on F1 2019. Vasta Racer proved that and took a well-deserved 2nd race of the season. He's a long way behind Nolan in the championship. Is it too late for a challenge from him? Will Ruben and Chocolate be back next week to try and keep their slim hopes alive? We will have to wait and see. It is round 15 next time around at the Singapore Grand Prix. We'll be racing under the lights. I won't be here next week. I believe Ollie shall be back, so you'll have his capable hands dealing with you next time out. That is all for me. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.